Yo guys, welcome back. Got a video on the hip today. One of my, Rio, who's filming our hopefully soon to be Olympian, go Rio, is her coach is always giving me a hard time that all I do is tennis stuff because I guess you like athletic people don't use your shoulder yet. Just because it's for the shoulder doesn't mean it's only for tennis. But either way, I'm sure he loves my last video, why tennis players should run once a week, but whatever. So now we're going to go on the hip. I'm going to go over a little bit of a game I like the athletes to play. The thing that kind of sucks about this one is you can use a smaller ball, but I really enjoy this one because it's kind of like the bulldozer effect. Where the smaller balls do a good job with the mobility, this thing just basically, well, bulldozes everything through. So what we do, the game, is keep the ball on the tissue. So basically you're going to start in the easy area where all the tissue is, that's right on the butt. You're going to kind of go into the piriformis, and this can last as long as you want. We basically just search for some nice painful areas, and when we find the painful areas, we stay there. So sometimes when you start getting on the front area of the ball, so as you're going to see what I'm talking about, they kind of come into more like Magic Mike looking positions, but hey, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband will like you when you can learn how to move a little bit better. So I'm just going to keep talking as I roll. Now as I say, keep the ball on the tissue, Gewebe for the Germans here. That means, it's quite simple here, because everybody has a lot of tissue in their bum, but as I start moving, you're going to notice I set my right elbow down, the ball on my right side. I start getting the ball, if you can see, a little bit more coming on the lateral side. Now obviously I would not be going this fast through this if I was not making a YouTube video. I would be spending much more time on all of the area, and especially when I get a tight spot, which is usually right here, I would spend much more time on that. Now the game gets a bit difficult because as you start coming on the lateral side, you're going to realize that the tissue gets smaller. The area of tissue gets less and less. You're going to start running into bones, hips, and everything like this, which hips are bones, but whatever. It gets a bit more difficult. So your movement becomes a bit smaller. I've obviously done this a few times. You're going to realize that when the ball's on the lateral side, it is a little bit more difficult, and a lot of times it gets a little bit more painful. So here I am, still continuing to roll over tissue. If you roll over a bone, don't worry, your head's not going to explode, your leg won't fall off. It just hurts a little bit. You'll be fine. Just don't continue. Continue to search for that tissue. Now, as it starts getting a little bit Magic Mike style, it's going to be here. For those who haven't seen the video of Magic Mike, I apologize. For those who have, you probably are going to see exactly what I'm talking about. So as I continue to roll, I'm still staying on that tissue. I'm starting to get into the anterior portion of my hip. And basically what we're doing is we're trying to open the entire hip, because the next thing we're going to do is a bit of a dynamic torture, if you will, hip stretch. Yeah? So the more warm and open, and mobilized, if you will, your hip can be, the deeper it's going to go, and maybe in some cases the less it will hurt. So as you see, I still really haven't hit any bone yet, so I'm still winning my own game, which is why I created it, because I can always win. And I continue to turn more and more and more. Now, I'm going to maybe, can you see me in this position okay, yeah? Yeah, a little bit? Okay, so maybe then I just continue to create, I continue to change, I'm going to change, sorry, my position. And hopefully you can continue to see now where that ball is coming. So again, as I start rolling in this position, I've basically gone from a position completely in my posterior side, if you will, to completely the front. Now this, as I start getting here, I'm going to keep my hand up so you can see it, but I'm going to start rolling, and this is where the Magic Mike positions come in, yeah? So sometimes I joke, and it's easier if you set your leg in a position out like this, and now you look like you're doing some dance move that belongs in a club in Florida more than an actual mobility move. But what you're doing now is you're starting to really roll over your, let's say your hip flexor area and your adductors, yeah, so the groin. And what you're going to start to notice is in some people it becomes really, really tight. Most of us will have a flip. It's going to be more if the flip is painful or not that I'm looking at. If it's just flipping back and forth, definitely work on it. But if you've got some pain in there, then definitely stay in that area for a little while, because this is definitely causing some inefficiency in your hip, yeah? And so for not only tennis players, but also the track and field, which is like athletics, it's also important. So Sebastian, man, I'm all the way with you, baby. So I'm just going to keep rolling here. You can take, again, as long as you want in this time. I think we've probably taken a few minutes. I think that's enough. So you can basically go in all that area. a small little hint, which you can also do, and it's a little bit easier when the ball is bigger, is you can also do the same game in your lower back. So you can start here. A lot of times I keep my front leg, I call it in the dead position, so everything is completely relaxed. And then also in this position, I can do the same style of tissue game and just go to where I run out of the ability to find a tissue, yeah? You can go from this position, you can start in this position, which is a little bit high, and just really grind these things up. You're going to realize quite quick you run into bones a lot faster than you do on the real game, which is where I started here. You can do a complete 180 without hitting basically any bones when you get good. Once you've warmed everything up, once you've kind of grinded and matted all that tissue out, what you do, whoop, don't fall over, is I got to think of the leg I just worked. You can go back into the stretch position. We've seen this stretch before in a few older videos. So what I like doing here is getting that leg really in my hip in an extended position, and then from here you can kind of start opening yourself up a little bit right there. But the real doozy comes when I take my left hand, because my left leg is up, grab my right leg, and as we've seen before, I can bring myself in a proper stretch here. I can turn lateral on my right leg. I can allow my left leg to turn even more. I can do all the different things that we did in the first video when I did the stretch. I can kick my leg out for 5 seconds. I can then relax, go into a P&F. But the new part here is we're going to go into a little bit of a dynamic torture Magic Mike mobility move. So basically what we're going to do here, Rio, I don't know the best way to see it. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to take my hip, my right portion of my hip, and I'm just going to start pushing it towards the ground. So here what I'm doing now is I'm really trying to focus on the dynamic movement of just opening my hip up towards that ground. You can do that really in every single position. I feel this the most when I'm in the classic position right here, because my groin, hip flexor, the Magic Mike mobility move from the beginning when I was on the front of my front side is quite tight on me, especially on my right side. And then from this position, what I can start doing is then I can stop moving my hip and I can start pumping my leg. So hopefully you can see Rio, my right leg in the back. I don't know how big the screen is there. Pumping my leg. And as I do this, I'm basically just really opening up my rectus femoris. This is quite an important muscle because it not only crosses the knee, but it also goes up and crosses the hip, or it starts crossing the hip and goes down and crosses the knee, however you want to say it. But it's one of the only muscles in the quad. It is the only muscle in the quadricep that crosses both the joints. So as you see, I'm pumping my leg here, pumping it here, and basically just try to find those painful areas. And then once you've warmed it all the way up, do both. So here I'm pumping my leg and dropping my hip in all these different positions. And you will notice if you try this sometime before doing any mobility at all with that ball, and then doing it after the mobility, you will realize the pumping hurts a lot less. Now, I'm sure many doctors and many people will probably tell you this is a terrible idea, doesn't make any sense, ballistic stretching doesn't work, you have to hold things for 10 seconds, you have to, I don't know, pray to Jesus before you do things. There's a lot of research that's going to go completely against this. However, the problem is we're still learning so much about fascia in the way the muscles really work, the myelination of the body. If you guys ever study anything about talent and learning, we accidentally learned about myelin and the job that it does in, I think, 2006. So there's many things we still don't know. So a lot of what we are doing, what I'm doing, is I'm going on performance-based results, and I'm not waiting 30, 40 years for the medical community to finally catch up, because unless it involves pharmaceutical drugs, I don't think they will. So give it a shot. Your brain's not going to explode, your spine's not going to pop out of your face, your leg's not going to fall off, you won't hurt yourself. Listen to your body, don't go too crazy, but I believe when we're going in these dynamic positions, doing the static stretching like we always do, but also involving these movement patterns, the results really come faster, if you will. So, hope that made sense. Seabass, man, I love you. I got more videos for you. Like the athletics team, whoop whoop, go go. It's not only about tennis, baby. GTS. Alright guys, till next week. Peace.